I just read a 154-page document about the state of fashion in 2025, so you don't have to. And we're going to use industry insights to help find out what's going to happen this year in fashion, what aesthetics are up next. How can we find them? This is Age of Wonders here. Time to dive into the state of fashion 2025. The State of Fashion is an annual report compiled by business of fashion and market research firm McKinsey. And I know that sounds super boring. Business, market research, just tell me what brands are cool so I can wear them before everyone else. And yeah, these reports can be a little bit dry, but because they make use of plenty of data, can also be more insightful than purely relying on fashion experts to tell you what they think based purely on vibes. So I've made it my job to take in all this stuff and pull out 3 primary topics which are going to be of interest to us. And I'll use those to suggest what brands and aesthetics might be worth watching this year, as well as some other interesting bits of information. The first one which stuck out to me, overwhelming choice of online shopping. Great news, I'm going to give you a free jacket. Hypothetically, but you get to choose one of these 3. I bet you've got a pretty good idea of which one you'd go for, and afterward feel fairly confident that you made the right choice. This one in particular is a style that feels very on trend going into 2025, the fireman jacket or fireman clasp work jacket. Keep an eye out for those. But if I say you get to choose one of 20, you probably don't immediately know which one you want, and after choosing, you're probably second guessing whether another one might have been better. More choice makes you less happy. This is what online shopping for clothing feels like. There is just too much choice, so we come away feeling kind of unsatisfied because of everything that we saw and didn't buy. What's more, the sheer number of products can actually get in the way of finding that item that you actually want. What do you do when your dream pants are 200 pages deep in the Essence sale? This is bad enough that most people have abandoned online purchases at some point, and most people say that search is a barrier to their purchases. If we want better clothing and find styles like these fireman jackets more effectively, product discovery needs to be reinvented. The report focuses on one solution. I think there are others which we can talk about after. AI is described as the solution for the abundance of choice. It's getting more accurate, it's getting more cheap to implement on websites, and while the report shows a very cringe interaction of being recommended the perfect dress for a wedding in Santorini, it also touches on more valuable ways retailers can implement AI. We might see in 2025 more curated search that can recognize our intent. If I'm always looking for 3-layer technical shell jackets, when I search for jacket, that's probably the thing that I want to find first, not have all of the good stuff mixed in with a load of random junk that I'm just going to scroll past. And that aligns with the changing fashion landscape from micro trends into individual aesthetic exploration, where uniqueness is valued over the hottest product of the week. Fashion executives say discovery and search is the area in 2025 where AI can provide the most value. That is slightly reassuring in a world increasingly filling up with generative AI slop, but product design and creative processes came in third. So AI might help me find clothes better, but we also might see a trend towards more generative AI photo shoots and marketing campaigns, even AI designed clothing. I'd love to know if that fills you with dread. It's something I'm thinking about for an upcoming video. What the report didn't cover is the solution for bad search potentially manifesting as a continued interest in vintage stores and curators. We don't want to see 100,000 items, but someone whose taste we trust to tell us this is the stuff that's interesting, these are the brands that are cool, this is what is worth checking out. And those people to have a highly developed sense of taste and a particular aesthetic or a focus in mind, and just as important, people who have the ability to sift through vintage clothing to bring the best of that to us. Expect 2025 to see the continued rise of these kinds of stores like Wholesales, 300, 700, Allen Reggie, Warm Waves, Constant Practice that we've covered in previous videos. Other brands I see growing from this are ones that encourage us to bypass the searching process entirely. Salt Studio is a great example. The brand covers every part of the fashion experience. What's on trend, advice for creative people, behind the scenes of making clothes, what makes his pieces unique, when and where those pieces are dropping. After consuming his content, we want to buy from his personality, his expertise, his world, and we can only do that through his own website, where there's pretty much just a handful of pieces available at any one time. His Instagram bio couldn't make it any clearer. I don't make clothes, I make stories. These storyteller brands, in my opinion, are going to be things people want to buy into more and more. It helps that in this case, the clothing looks nice, it's authentic to the creator, the price point is decent too. You might remember that we've covered this topic before from the perspective of authenticity, and I definitely think it's going to continue to grow in popularity in 2025. Reading on, another segment that caught my eye is the value shift. Luxury labels are out, and paying for something that offers genuine value is in. This is partly responsible for the dupe trend. Buying fake clothing somehow got yassified, and now knockoff handbags, clothes, even furniture is getting more associated with smart consumption than it is pretending like you're rich and successful. This is just one type of cost-conscious behavior resulting from global economic uncertainty combined with the continuing rise of luxury fashion prices. The report notes 80% of shoppers are planning on spending either less or the same amount of money on clothing this year, and discount shoppers like Ross or TJ Maxx, TK Maxx if you're in the UK, are growing much faster than the average of fashion retailers. While I'm here, might as well check out an off-price retailer for myself. Unfortunately, this branch was pretty dead. The best thing I found was this folk cardigan at a really nice price, but there was very little that felt stylish in 2025. These loafers just can't match my new Mizuno ones, which look great with a Wave Prophecy sole. Here they are in the full fit. Let me know what you think of them. Anyways, back to the topic at hand. You've probably noticed many luxury brands pushing prices higher and higher and higher, and that kind of attitude works really well until it doesn't, and people start questioning exactly why they're paying so much money for all of this stuff. We need our money to work harder for us, and buying from outlets or waiting for sales is part of that behavior. Buying from dupe brands is another, but it seems to have turned into a little bit more about just saving money into something else. So what do these brands actually offer? So one of these bags is a $2,800 Bottega Veneta Jody bag, the other a $100 bag by Quince. You get 3 seconds, guess which one is which? Yeah, this one's the dupe, and I know you could definitely tell, well, psych, it was the other one. Shout out to those of you smart enough to stick to your convictions, but you're also wrong, it was the first one the whole time. My point is, for most people, these two products are extremely similar, and paying this price, rather than this one, is increasingly becoming not only more necessary, but more cool. The report states that it's premium consumers, not value or mid-market shoppers, who are most likely to have bought a dupe of the item they wanted, i.e., the people most connected to fashion, the big spenders, they're the ones buying the dupes. Quince brands itself as using high-end factories, but cutting out the middleman to bring those savings onto us. And that's clearly a story people are interested in. Their sales tripled in 2023 and are predicted to triple again for 2024, up to $1 billion. While their rhetoric is pretty similar to the classic fake story of they're all made in the same factory. Oh really? And who told you that? Oh yeah, the people selling the fakes. I'm sure they'd have no reason to lie. It does point to a continuing trend of people wanting to see value for their clothing. It's on trend or it has a logo just isn't good enough, especially in this post-trend landscape where there isn't really such thing as the coolest bag this season. But a bag made in a high-end factory with high-end materials without the markup is pretty cool. The $78 Walmart Birkin has received a huge amount of attention for a similar reason, I think. And not just because it is a fake Birkin, it's the exclusive identity combined with the inclusive brand and price. People don't just want to buy a Birkin for $78, they want to buy it and say, you'll never guess where I got this from and how much I paid. I'd expect to see affordable versions of luxury goods kind of becoming a trend in its own right and expanding out from bags into other categories. Okay, I'm watching this back and I realize I didn't really give my opinion on this trend. The thing about dupes is that the dupe cannot exist without the original. Personally, my interest is in original design, things that I find to be creative or new. So the idea of people buying dupe products as a trend is not really of interest to me. If I had $100 to spend on a bag, I would rather spend that $100 on something that kind of stands up on its own merit, rather than the $100 thing that kind of looks like a more expensive thing. And let's be honest, if you're watching this video, you probably care about fashion, design, aesthetics enough that the Bottega bag will immediately look better to you, but I think that wider, more casual interest fashion audience probably doesn't care about the exact design that much, but the idea of having something that kinda looks similar and has a much better value proposition, I think that's what's attractive to people. But I do think people's interest in high product quality is good, and that's what I'll talk about next, so back to the video. And forgetting the dupe brand trend, other designers who are winning in 2025 are the ones who are weaving product quality into part of their story. And it's the tangible, physical qualities of clothing that are going to be increasingly perceived as cool over the luxury label alone. Just look at Aura Lee, Studio Nicholson, Our Legacy, all growing in popularity. None of them lead with the brand, but the product itself. And while these are expensive brands, conceptually this is a price agnostic trend because it doesn't really matter whether you're buying a luxury product quality item, getting a vintage steal, or even buying a dupe brand. Any of those options mean you're participating in a trend for caring about product quality. The growth of channels like The Iron Snail are good evidence of this too, where Michael tells the stories of fabrics and construction just as much as aesthetics. Shift Fashion, Tanner Leatherstein, Rose Anvil are all doing a similar thing. There's an interview with the CEO of Ralph Lauren, Patrice Louvette, who says something very relevant. I think every consumer cares about value. Whether you're a billionaire or whether you're scraping by on $12 an hour, every consumer cares about value and making sure they're putting money into something that reflects what they care about. Ironically, that was in context of them raising prices in a similar way to other brands, but it shows that the industry is recognizing everyone is becoming less likely to buy expensive clothing for no reason. However, that doesn't mean that nobody cares about visible branding. I don't expect to see a return to logomania, but there is some nostalgia for the mid-2010s streetwear environment where everything just seemed a little bit
right now. Obviously. So why is Palace better than Spree?
It's more road. It's better, and it's better for running.
A handful of brands were the ones to have, and communities built up around going to the stores on drop day. The last time I walked past the Supreme store in London though, there was a queue outside. Nature is healing. Plot twist, I was wearing it the whole time. The brand generally had a really strong season in FW24 though. Great collaborations, really cool designs, and retail, in my opinion, is still of decent quality for the price. The Frazetta drop was one of the most popular ones this season, and the brand took a backseat versus the art. And this work jacket is super heavy and substantial feeling. Although a lot of fashion conversation is centered around smarter looks, you know, loafers, pleated pants, all that stuff, sportswear still has a really big part to play. And it points to some potential 2025 trends. It's the sportswear brand showdown. 2024 was RIP Nike, declining share prices, declining profits, their CEO was replaced, and I think fashion fans had less and less to get excited about. I personally quite liked the Astro Grabbers, but really that was the main thing for me. And most fashion commentators are talking about the decline in sneaker culture and sneaker hype. However, the sportswear market is predicted to outgrow the fashion market generally. Not only is the boundary between fashion and sportswear getting continually blurred, but more and more people are taking an active interest in lifestyle and fitness hobbies. If Nike has been losing though, who's winning? The report notes how challenger brands have aggressively taken market share, and for the first time that's predicted to reach over 50%. We're talking brands like Hoka, On, New Balance, Asics, and this is predicted to continue. Not that this is a particularly sexy metric, but if you take a look at Asics' share price over 2024, things really did go crazy, and if nothing else, that signals that people are predicting its future success. I'm certainly hoping for a few more Kiko collabs. It is so cold. Stopping my run to do this, big mistake. There absolutely is a growing link between fitness and fashion though. Running, hiking, gym, all that stuff is getting increasingly cool. Brands which say I like keeping fit and looking good are continuing to grow and hype. I'm talking brands like Satisfy, Soar, Past Normal Studios. Nike has just released a running top that's basically a rip of Satisfy's Moth Tech range. When the biggest sportswear brand is copying the aesthetic of a much smaller one like this, it's pretty clear that the design is resonating with people from a aesthetic or cultural relevant standpoint. Other brands are connecting these worlds too. Oakley have been putting out so many great designs like the Planterist that I picked up a few months ago. Independent performance brands like Nua and Senshi Designs target people who want to enjoy fashion whilst engaging in fitness. Performance and fashion brand collabs do a similar thing. Post-Archive Faction and On Running, very big example. Hoka have been collaborating with a bunch of fashion brand retailers, but doing this with their running models. We saw this in 2024, it's definitely not going away. The report actually pulls out tennis as a potential future focus area because of the combination of the number of people who play plus the number of people who watch it. So we could start seeing this used as the focus for sportswear looks, and tennis being representative of this crossover between fitness and lifestyle. It's no coincidence in my mind that Zendaya was named the brand ambassador for On Running, the release of the Challengers film starring her, and On Running as a brand moving into into the tennis space. And who knows, maybe even playing tennis will be something of a trend. When we think about trends, we're normally focused on products and brands. We've talked about a few already in this video, and if you want another one, I think we'll continue to see Western wear in 2025. Rugged, hard-wearing stuff with traditional adornments from belts to boots. But behavior can also be a trend, and in 2025, we're going to see an increasing importance in physical spaces and experiences. So an LVMH exec said in an interview, all cohorts of consumers, both older and younger, are increasingly valuing experiences over traditional asset accumulation. Visiting physical stores is part of that, and a whole section of the report is dedicated to how upskilling retail fashion workers to provide better experiences can be really important. I've walked into stores before and bought clothing because the people there were knowledgeable, passionate, and really told me something about the clothing that just looking at a product description couldn't. And when I bought those pieces, I felt a little like I was buying into that experience that I had, and not just the physical product. It's no surprise LVMH just invested in Japanese brand Capital, whose stores are famously heavily themed and experiential in nature. Those experiences are a refreshing antidote to constant fashion doom scrolling. I think that's why the Owners Club trend was so pervasive in 2024. I'm pretty sick of seeing these t-shirts now, but they really were everywhere last year. It implies the existence of something physical with real connections. You imagine all of these Owners Club fashion fans hanging out and discussing their shared interest. While this has had its day, I think 2025 will see an equivalent replacement that alludes to the physical world in some way, even if people are still buying it online. And this trend towards physical spaces will only further benefit those brands who can show the physical value and the tactile qualities of their product. This trend to the physical goes one stage further. When everything we consume goes from cool to passé in record time, what's the point buying expensive clothing at all? Why not spend your money on something that is literally consumed? The Fashion Cafe lets us buy into a brand, immerse ourselves in this world, consume something they have to offer comparatively far more affordably than purchasing their clothing. CEOs of Aritza and Ralph Lauren both note the success of opening cafes in their stores. Plus, don't we deserve something nice? The expensive ALD croissant, the fancy Prada cafe coffee. Little treat culture is real, and I know it does seem kind of cringe, basically overpaying for drinks and snacks because of their attachment to a brand or because of the environment that they're served in. I'd argue that's less cringe than buying into physical clothing for its perceived trendiness rather than an actual interest in the garment itself. And that's particularly the case now in this post-trend landscape that a lot of people are discussing, where very few items, if any, have this universal cool appeal. And somehow it feels less bad to be over-consuming coffee and cake than it does over-consuming $1,000 luxury garments. It's a smart idea for brands too. By providing more accessible experiences, they can show a wider audience what they're about. I'll link to the full report in the description, both for more information on what we discussed, plus the inclusion of other topics we didn't cover as much. They have a whole section on sustainability, for example. And there's some more industry-focused stuff like inventory management. Exciting, I know. But most important is to hear from real people, so I would love to know what you plan on wearing this year, and does that resonate with any of the things that we've talked about in this video? Your comment could be exactly what someone needs to hear, so please do leave your valuable thoughts below. It is super appreciated, and if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like, because that is also massively appreciated. And as always, I'll be back very soon with another one.